This is a recording. Welcome to the Locked Tome, the spooky sister channel to the Open Book. To kick off this horror-loving space, I am repurposing some of my older videos, originally published to TOB, which were admittedly a little too horror-centric in nature. We're splitting vibes and splitting skulls over here, so if anything in this video feels a little odd in the editing, that's why. I can't wait to get the channel fully up and running. Thanks for stopping by, and please stick around if you also enjoy all things horror, and if you'd prefer cozy vibes, I will kindly direct you to the Open Book channel instead, where over there I have cookies. End of recording.
Hey, and today I'm going to surprise you by talking about a movie and not being solely negative. I have 90% praise, and the problems I have with it are based on personal perception and bias. So I'm going to raise it up and then just bring it back down to my level. As much as this is a subjective take on the movie's character development and ending, I hope it gives way to an understanding of varying interpretations of media. So, let's talk about Into the Forest, directed by Patricia Rozema, starring Ellen Page and Evan Rachel Wood. It's categorized as a drama sci-fi thriller, but I wouldn't consider it sci-fi. The world is shown to have basically the same technology as us, just more advanced screens / accessibility in the home, but it in no way affects the plot because the plot is about having no technology. The nation basically goes on a blackout. There's no access to electricity, gas, and therefore transportation, food, and resources. The premise is the age-old question of whether this family can survive. I'm going to start structuring my video commentaries around Rotten Tomatoes, critics versus audiences, which one I agreed with, and why. Critics gave Into the Forest 76%, and audiences gave it 43%. If you asked me about it when I first watched Into the Forest, I would have sided with the audience out of disgruntlement, but I just rewatched it, and with all my angst aside, I was able to appreciate more of the things the movie did really well. And now I agree with the critics, and here's why. Firstly, I found the cinematography really beautiful. It might not be somebody else's cup of tea, but I got hit with the feels with all those shots sometimes. I think a lot of casual viewers probably lost their attention span in the empty space, but the music used, the angles, the focus, if they were sitting down and letting themselves feel those moments, certain scenes were very poignant. I felt a lot of emotions that were brought in strictly because of the directing choices. The acting was all good. They nailed their characters given to them. The family dynamic and how the sisters and father interacted with each other was so heartwarming at the start. They seem like a really well-balanced family. Like how Nell gets drunk and they pick her up, but there's no judgment or parental scolding. There's just taking care of her and respect as an individual for choices she's made and probably regrets. They were supportive, they were witty, they were cute. I was jealous. Unlike some movies that set up tension with poor payoff, this movie didn't. They run into scary bikers on their way back from a trip to town after the blackout, and it instills a sense of fear in other humans. Nothing comes from that specific interaction, but it solidifies the characters' need to stay on their property from then on. They realize other people are dangerous, and they are going to wait this catastrophe out. Here is where we are going to get into some spoilers, because I can't talk about development without first and last context, so if this sounds like a movie that you'd like to watch, go ahead. It is good. It's on Netflix. I will add in a trigger warning. As I said, the cinematography is very raw sometimes. There's an assault, so if you are sensitive, don't watch it. But also, if you're sensitive, then I don't know what you're doing watching me then. I enjoyed the pretext of a lot of things that happened, because nothing ever really felt random. Their father is portrayed as a self-proclaimed handyman, and that pays off in his use of the chainsaw to start the car. However, he is clearly a half-asser in this department, as displayed by their beautiful house with a leaking roof. It's foreshadowing him not properly fixing the chainsaw after and dying in an ensuing accident because of it. A lot of the things that happen or are said in the movie tie into each other in some way or another sequentially. Now, here's the tricky part of the movie, and why I didn't like it the first time. Eva. Naturally, viewers gravitate towards Nell as the strong lead, so Eva becomes the bitchy sister. That's just what our brains sometimes do. They form contrasts. I got stuck on how much I didn't like Eva. Once their father died, Eva became fairly useless. If she wasn't depressed, she was making selfish, poor decisions. Nell throughout the movie is shown continually stepping up and taking on more and more responsibility in Eva's absence. Now, this divide isn't nearly as expansive as my brain made it out to be. If one is good, the other doesn't become inherently evil. During my second watch through, it was easier to see Eva as a person rather than an opposition. And honestly, I think this movie was so good because it was realistic in that way. Sometimes people don't rise to occasions. Sometimes their value doesn't lie in their contributions. As much as that made the sisters an equal, that doesn't dehumanize Eva, or just make her a bitch no matter how crazy she acts or the stuff she says. She is shown to have good times, it's just fluctuating, like Eva describes it as black waves rolling over her. And it certainly didn't help that when she was well enough to be helpful by cutting wood, she gets raped. So it's just a continual fuck Eva, fuck Eva, fuck Eva over and over again. And I guess it only takes so much. I can't fault her on that. People are different. Their abilities to cope with situations are different. And in the end, Eva felt fairly accurate to how her personality type would actually handle the situations that she is forced to endure. As with Nell, if you're programmed to step up, you keep stepping up until it breaks you. Which literally happens to Nell's back when she tries gardening alone. And in Eva's situation, if you can keep living with minimal effort, you will. And it's that understanding and part of the realistic nature of the dynamic that they had that made the movie unenjoyable for me because of my personal perspective. Eva doesn't deserve to be hated. She's just a human. She has every right to be depressed. She could have contributed a bit more, but at the same time, she also didn't deserve the hand she was dealt. So what are you gonna do? And as much as a lot of their bonding and interactions were very sisterly and strong, by the end, I'm just sitting there feeling like Nell got plowed over. She started the movie as a strong, opinionated, independent woman, and she gives everything up for her sister. She compromises herself to fill the role Eva needed, and in my eyes, it became sort of a codependence. This feeling first set into me watching Nell make Ava dinners, which Ava would come, take to eat, and then just give Nell the cold shoulder, all because Nell wouldn't let her waste resources. And I can attest to how difficult it is managing resources and someone mentally ill. In Nell's situation, you'd want to just say, well, fuck her if she's gonna be like that, not appreciating your effort, make your own food. But at the same time, if you don't supervise them, they'll probably do something wrong and waste resources in the process. Eva couldn't be trusted. So you're condemned to supervise them, and if you're going to bother doing that, then you might as well just fucking do it for them. Nell grew into a relationship with Eva that had her, by the end of it, accepting the lack of appreciation that she gets. Maybe it was so painful because Eva was written well as someone suffering depression. Nell doesn't want to be the bad guy or give tough love, but she has to when Eva comes begging to waste gas for the sake of music, because when you're in that state, you're just grasping for happiness and you're not thinking about the long-term cost. Nell is forced into the role of Ava's supervisor rather than her equal or sister, and that's part of the divide and where people view them comes from. And eventually that means Nell gets pushed around into doing whatever Eva decides is right because she's become the center of Nell's world. Part of me wants to say, fuck all people like Eva who should suffer for not carrying their own weight, but also I understand how Nell can't just let her sink the ship. I understand what Into the Forest was going for in its ending. It wasn't just about those two sisters. It was about people as a whole finding familial bonds, abandoning the crutches of their technology, and returning to something simpler, pure. But in that last shot, all I see is Eva holding her baby, being a burden, and Nell carrying the weight on her back for the both of them. I hated this sort of codependent bond that turned Nell into an overworked slave to her unstable, selfish sister. And that's the ending that I felt. Generally, though, the deepness and the bonding was heartwarming because family, so I don't know, I'm just broken. So what I just went over wasn't an actual complaint, it was a perception, and just how I didn't like it. However, it is accurate to life and how relationships happen. So that's a big thumbs up for authenticity. My only actual complaint is the timeline that they give for the movie. Sometimes it'll skip a couple months, and the rate at which they run out of food is fairly exaggerated. Like, how much food could they have possibly had in their pantry? They still have canned stuff by 8 months in. They don't even bother scavenging until 6 months in. It takes 15 months before Nell is compelled to even try hunting because Eva needs prenatal B12 or whatever. Also, after Eva is assaulted, Nell goes hard on barricading the walls, windows, and so forth of the house to make her feel safe. She clearly knows how to use a hammer and nails and has the materials lying around to do so, but not once do either of them bring up or try to fix the ceiling. It's symbolic to have a leaking roof by the end. Sure, that was the point. But what have they been doing all day for a year? Fix the damn roof. So yeah, Into the Forest was a good movie, ruined by my overactive brain. I did actually enjoy it for the most part, and I think it was beautifully shot. I also think we need to stop selling strong characters that have to settle for subservient lives as a victory in the end, just because they're still together and happy. Maybe I should just call reviews Salt. It's a working title. If you have seen Into the Forest and have any opinions, drop them in the comments below. Let me know if you can at all see what I saw in the ending, or if I'm just crazy. So until next time, bye.